Good morning and welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known. It is Monday, and I'm looking down and saying, "Gosh, it's only Monday already." But somebody's not too down about Monday this morning, and that is my co-host.
Peace and love, everybody. I am the co-host, Niele Anderson, and welcome to Let It Be Known. Today is day 6 of a government shutdown.
Okay.
Special elections begin today. We start voting today in California about redistricting, and we have headlines zigzagging across these United States.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot. But before we get to that, what does our producer have for us this morning?
I had literally no idea who Ezra Klein was until today. And I must say, I'm jealous of myself yesterday because I watched that interview and I just do not understand why this interview happened. Like, Ta-Nehisi Coates literally cooked him in the first 10 minutes. We didn't need to go any further. We don't need an interview on why you think Charlie Kirk should be honored or why you think that he's a fucking great debater. He's a bigot. Like, the ends. The ends. I was at a panel recently and someone was saying, we need to be a white person. We need to be able to reach across the aisle and have conversations, talk to people who don't agree with us. You motherfuckers do not understand that this is not a conversation if you believe that pineapple should be on pizza. You literally don't think that people should live. But I'm supposed to have a conversation with you about it? No, you need to go have a conversation with yourself on why you think you deserve life and someone else doesn't. I'm not going to interrupt that for you. In a lot of my classes, people have this expectation of educators in general. We are just going to have all of these open conversations and everybody's opinion is welcome. And I don't know where this comes from. Like, I think it's just a white supremacist value that everything is just open and objective and we could just discuss. No, shit is based in facts. Charlie Kirk wasn't arguing any facts. He was arguing hatred. He was a bigot. What else is there to discuss? Ezra Klein is like, well, how can we win? Because we're losing. I don't know. Stop. And literally, Ta-Nehisi Coates is like, so maybe we shouldn't have leaders that are transphobic and also Zionist? There's a thought. People who literally inherently believe in their whole career and money and net worth is based on multiple genocides happening all over the globe. There's a thought. Ta-Nehisi Coates is like, as somebody who's Black, it's very hard for me to give some sort of like grace and space and see the value of a Charlie Kirk. Hello? There's no white people need like to be grounded in something other than what's right and wrong, a binary. Like, what is truly your politic? Even the binary of right and left. What is your politic? Who are you? What do you really care about? Because a lot of white people on the left are all about virtue signaling. It's like, I'm the best white. No, the fuck you're not. You still benefit from white supremacy. It doesn't matter what you peddle or how you pretend to be a super woke white person. How do you get...
She got a lot on her chest. She got off.
Yeah, she had a lot to say this morning. Good morning, the Stephanie Humphreys channel. Good morning to you.
Listen, folks we're in a spot. Folks are just like her. She's getting it off her chest. She's telling her truth, right? And people don't want to hear that. People don't want to hear that. And then you got on the other side, Van Jones doing Van Jones type things, and getting called out for, I made a mistake. Van Jones I will credit Van Jones with this. He is probably, if there was a real prize for this, he would win hands down, the biggest opportunist in the history of opportunity. That is Van Jones, and he was able to capitalize. And so, what was that? Rich guy gave him $100 million, told him do whatever you want with it. Van Jones was able to capitalize. I've been called an opportunist before, but I should have lived up to it and been like Van Jones. $100 million. He is just a horrible guy. I mean, very smart. But I remember my first encounter with Van Jones. My first encounter with Van Jones was at they changed the name of the hotel in DC. We used to have our September conferences, the leadership, where we have the leadership awards across the street. But nonetheless, and he was doing something at that time. It was about climate and environment and stuff like that. And the Washington Informer publisher, Denise Roloff Barnes, wanted me to talk to him. And at first, I saw him, with the Black Press, and specifically, I want to do something for the Informer. The first words out of that dude's mouth was, "What's your circulation?" It didn't care. Black folks were interested in environmental stuff, and his thing was, "What's your circulation?" I told Van Jones he could take a long walk on a very, very short plank, and I told him just like that. Then I said some other words that I'm not going to repeat, and then I told Denise Barnes, who was the editor at the time, Denise Roloff Barnes, the publisher. I told Denise Barnes. Denise Barnes told me I was right to tell him to go kick rocks. Denise Roloff Barnes is like, well, we should still try and find some common ground with the guy. Whatever. There's no common ground with people like that. And it's like what she was saying. There's no common ground with people with racists and people who are inherently racist and are going to spew racism everywhere. And everything that they do is going to be living in their privilege of racism.
Well said.
They think they're better. That's all. Yes. And yes, I agree with you, RNG. Van Jones is a 21st century minstrel show. I still want receipts on how, when Prince died, he was the first one out there saying him and Prince were so close. I have never seen him and Prince in a picture together, a video together. I've never seen him before that. All his appearances, never mentioned Prince. He made money off of Prince. I don't like Van Jones, so y'all understand that. Dr. Marilyn says Prince trusted Van. Seems like an odd friendship. Van told you Prince trusted him. Prince never said he trusted Van Jones. Prince never uttered the words publicly, Van Jones.
Well, Prince is dead, so we'll never know.
Right.
So,
Let me not go down that road. No. So when we left you on Friday, Diddy was sweating. He was on the ground in court. He was on his knees. He was doing all types of obeisance, praying to every god he ever heard of. And of course, the judge was like, dude, you made some. Niele, the dude, here's the thing with Diddy. And I wrote a column about it, and most people will hate my column about it. But the thing with Diddy, what pissed me off, and I don't like Diddy. I've said I don't care about the guy or anything. I do think that he got a raw deal in the sentencing, even though people say, oh, 4 years, he got nothing. He should have got 20. Not by law, folks. Only by our disdain and distaste for him, he should have gotten 20 years. But by law, he got 4 years. And the judge did eventually go mostly by law. But Niele, did he actually book speaking engagements this week in Miami? Why would he think that judge was going to let him out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why?
I mean, that was just bad judgment from whoever his team is to allow that to happen, including his attorneys. That was just really, terrible for him to do. I wouldn't say horrific, but it was just a bad judgment call on his team to allow him to even do that, especially his attorneys. I mean, they should know better.
And it obviously was going to get out. And it's going to get back to the judge and the prosecutors who used that in their speech to what do you
Yeah.
call it? Whatever they speech to tell the judge to lock him up. And it was interesting. I was surprised, Niele, that he got 4 years, basically 3 years because he gets a year time served, a year plus time served. But because the judge really had it in for Diddy, and the probation. First of all, prosecutors asked for at least 11 years. Probation said give him 7 years. And generally it falls in between, right? Probation report and prosecution's request.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Diddy's team said time served, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised he got these 50, it was 50 months to be exact, just to be exact. So basically we're talking 4 years, 2 months total, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was very surprised because the judge, even beforehand, and I was texting with Greer when it was happening, but the judge was saying, hey, yes, we are going to consider the crimes that you were acquitted of, which I thought, oh my gosh, this is so preposterous for anybody to do that. And I don't care. Like I said, I'm with many of y'all. Can't stand Diddy. But what I can't stand even more is when Black people go before court and they get treated biasly, unfairly. And to say that we're ignoring what the jury said. Any other time when you say we're ignoring what the jury says, people say, oh, you got to respect the jury's verdict. Well, this judge, that prosecution team was saying disrespect the jury's verdict because they acquitted him on all of the serious charges.
Mm-hmm.
And there's how many people you're going to find in prison right now for going and paying for a prostitute?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Unusual circumstances. At the end of the day, he doesn't have that much time to do, so hopefully he'll do some soul searching.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple of attorneys were breaking down that, he got 50 months. That's 4 years, 2 months. But of course, he gets a year off because he's already served a year. There's some rehabilitation drug treatments that he can do, which will take off another year. So some people, attorneys are saying he possibly could be out as soon as next year. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe if he follows certain guidelines, he takes these programs and then, at the end of the day, he's still going to be out to see his youngest daughter go to middle school, get to see her graduate through high school. And so, hopefully he does the soul searching he needs to be a better man.
Well, so there's some speculation that he could get out sooner, but I just know that federal time is something that you can do. Federal time is federal time. You have to do all of it. Is for what I understand, it's no like state prison. You get half time. You only have to do half of it. Federal, you have to do it all. But as Greer was pointing out, that so he's going to do 4 years, even if he appeals. By the way,
he's going to do 3 because he's already done a year. Yeah,
right. Even if he appeals, the appeals process takes about 3 years. So he's doing that time. And as Greer points out, and I think you have kind of said this, if not have said it, that maybe he'll take that time to stay clean.
Yeah. There are attorneys out there saying, having all types of situations. Like there's some programs in there, halfway house, So, I've never been to prison, so I don't know, what I mean? But, at the end of the day, I think that he got the least of what he could have had. And so under the circumstances, like certain things happen in basic terms, but sometimes you have unusual circumstances like a Diddy trial. And so, like I said, I think he got off pretty well based upon what the prosecution wanted, what probation wanted, and what could have been thrown at him. And I really think the judge was very conservative as to what he could do, because you always have this Donald Trump factor coming in. And so if you give him the minimum of the worst, then maybe it might stand.
And I think you're spot on. And of course, Donald Trump somebody was asking Donald Trump about that over the weekend. And Donald Trump, in his 79-year-old, almost 80-year-old way, like the old man that he is, he rambles about it, says, well, I used to know him. We were good pals. He said some good things about me. But then when I was running, the president, I didn't like the way he said some things. So no, I don't know that I would consider a pardon because of what he said. I'd have to really think about it. Yeah. This guy is
that just means he wants Diddy to reach out and do some licking.
Boot licking, huh?
Yeah, that's all that means.
That's it. Yeah. Like he wants everybody else to do. And what's interesting, you speaking of that, too, boot licking, did you happen to catch his speech to the Navy, Trump's speech to the Navy, in which he tried to incite them against Barack Obama and it failed big time? Did you see that? He tried to get them to boo Barack and they were like, the whole black, white, all the service people were like.
I mean, well, they've had that response from the military even last week with the HEXF and all the top soldiers and military coming to here. I mean, it was like crickets, even when they walked off stage, it was crickets. And so I know I've seen some articles about like people of lawyers and attorneys letting soldiers know what their rights are when it comes to just adhering to what this Secretary of War is saying, and the Trump Klan administration orders that are being given to them. Attorneys are starting to let soldiers know their rights, what the Trump Klan can do, and the rights that soldiers have. And so that's the state of our nation right now.
Well, Patricia Jackson, also going back for a second to Diddy, she says that he has to say how much he will pay for a pardon. Remember, the pardons are for sale. That's true too. Somebody, Dr. Maryland, called him the baby oil bandit. I like that. And expat says that he says, I voted for Obama, but was disappointed. Let me tell you something. You're always I don't care who you vote for, folks. I mean, that's up to y'all who y'all vote for. I'm not telling you how to vote, who to vote for, but you're always going to find some disappointment. You're always going to find disappointment. Here's something though, Niele. You talk about on a bit of good news side. Georgia's highest court sided with black landowners in a fight over zoning changes that weaken long-standing protections for one of the South's last Gullah Geechee communities founded by freed slaves. The state Supreme Court unanimously reversed a lower court ruling that had stopped a referendum to consider repealing a revised zoning ordinance passed by McIntosh County officials 2 years ago. Residents of Sapella Island opposed the zoning amendments that doubled the size of homes allowed in a tiny enclave called Hog Hummock. And so really the bottom line is there's this, for those who may not know, throughout the South Coast, down in South Carolina, all the way to Florida, and even in parts of North Carolina and up there is a this freed slave community, they have held on to their heritage. It's called the Gullah Geechee community, and they have been taking their land, their property, and this community of freed slaves descendants have held on to these properties. But what has happened over the years is they've tried to take it by that old way in which they took properties from black folks, saying you don't have the deed. Slaves could not have the deeds, right? And they have used that in modern day to take away property. And a lot of these folks have fought for this property. And the other way they've done it is through zoning. And so this court decision went against the zoning that the counties have wanted to do to get rid of these freed, the descendants of freed slaves down in the South. So good job there. They are fighting to keep their land. This is the only place, not the only place, but these are one of the places you can go to find authentic property owners who are descendants of slaves, direct descendants of slaves.
Yeah, definitely has rich culture, and it's important to preserve that land and the Geechee culture because it speaks to American history. Very colorful and vibrant place, and rich in culture with cuisine, and it just speaks to what America is. It's not a white man's country. it is mixed with many hues, many textures, and I think the people, the Geechee people and the land represents that in a very unique and specific way. And so I hope that they continue to fight. And stories like this get amplified to know the importance of the land, the culture, and the people that they represent. I want to go back to, you brought up expat when he said he was disappointed. And Obama, and Dr. Boyce Watkins, really big within the Black community on finances and things like that. He actually posted last week, the same people who say that Obama didn't have the power to help his own people are the ones who are complaining about Donald Trump helping his. I think that is a important point to talk about. Just not, pivoting, but I mean, I think there is some truth to what Dr. Boyce Watkins is saying. And so it's expat when we talk about what, the power of the presidency holds and who is putting, the power behind it. And it's Donald Trump for his people. And I hope in hindsight, former President Barack Obama, he acknowledges that he could have done more for us.
Well, I think when Obama said, imagine if I had done any of this. If you go back, he said this back in April, and it was just April too. Think about that. Trump had already run roughshod over the country by April. And he said, imagine if I had done any of this. What happens now is, and this is why you're going to have this this is why you do have the National Guard and the military in all these cities. You have not the gentrification. What is the what we've been talking about, what they're doing in different states, the maps and all that stuff, right? Trying to get rid of Democratic seats, trying to cut out Black lawmakers. They're trying to make sure that this country stays this way, stays in a dictator type rule by a white supremacist, because they now understand that after 9 months of what we've seen in Project 2025, that the power of the president, thanks to this corrupt Supreme Court, is unlimited now. And so if they turn this thing back over to a Barack Obama type, a Bernie Sanders type, or a Gavin Newsom type, everyone now realizes what they can do. When Barack Obama was president, none of this stuff was ever heard of, that a president would do something like this.
Yeah, it was
so
also
we
got to
give
him. Yeah, it was also never heard of to have a Black president too. I mean, and at one point he did have Congress. It wasn't for a long time, but he did. I mean, I just think it's something to consider, and it's definitely a lesson learned. I don't think any of the previous presidents, outside of Trump, ever thought to be so, forceful and pushing the limits of the presidency to such a criminal and greedy way, like none of the other presidents did. I just thought that was a good point that Dr. Boyce brought up, and a lot of us think that way, and a lot of people felt that way, and I think that's why a lot of Black people you see moving away from the Democratic Party, because when we did have Black faces in high places, it really didn't do anything for us for the most part. And I think that, whether you think it's right or you think it's wrong, or you say Obama was a hater or not, there is an issue with Black voters not really feeling like the Democratic Party is the place for them. And that is just something that we have to figure out.
Well, the mindset,
why that is.
Right. And the mindset of Democrats have been awful. When you see somebody coming at you with a AK-47 and you pick up a 22, what are you doing? And that's the Democrats. The other party, the MAGA folks, came at you with AK-47s and they picked up 22s. So yeah, I can see why folks are just totally disillusioned with the Democrats. They don't want anything to do with them. And then when you see, look, the so-called leadership that they have now, that's why we're seeing and Barack Obama again step into the spotlight. Obama understands, and y'all know I'm no Obama fan, but he understands the predicament that they are in. He understands that there's a leadership void, or at least the leaders that they have in place, they're not leading. And you're seeing more and more of the former president criticize the current president. During Trump's first term, Obama stayed almost totally out of it. He refused to criticize, and he talked about that back in 2016, 17, 18, 19. He talked about
Well,
that.
it's because too we're in uncharted water. That's why he's speaking up. We're in uncharted water. And let's be clear, if Barack Obama decided to run for president again, I would vote for him. I think that and see, that's the difference. I can be critical, but I can also be a part of what I want to see in this country. I'm not just going to sit back and say, hey, I don't like it, I'm not participating in it. I can be critical of him, but I also can vote for him again because I think he has the knowledge, he has the substance, the character, and he understands what leadership means. And I think, like, in hindsight, what he knows now, he would do a better job at it. And so I'm kind of hoping that if Trump decides that he's going to continue to run or figure it out, I hope Michelle lets him run.
You hope Michelle lets him
I hope Michelle lets him run. That's all I can say.
Well, I think you make a great point about not totally agreeing with someone, because I think many in America, not all, but many in America have learned the lesson already from a year ago. We just could not see ourselves with a black woman, and that black woman can't have that office. She can't have that office. They didn't like the fact that she was black.
A woman,
they didn't
period.
like the fact,
let's be clear,
right, that she was a woman. Right.
Hillary Clinton, they felt the same way about Hillary.
They felt the same way about Hillary.
I think it's, black compounds it, but a woman, period. They didn't want Hillary. They didn't want her.
But if they haven't learned their lesson about, and you just said it, okay, you didn't like that Kamala Harris locked up black folks when she was the district attorney. You didn't like that. Okay, but look at the big picture. I think that's what you're saying with Obama. Look at the big picture. So look where you're at now.
So one thing with Obama, I had zero respect for him as a president, but he would bop down those stairs. I've never said, da-da-da-da-da-da, pop, pop, pop. He'd go down the stairs, wouldn't hold on. I said, da-da-da-da-da-da, pop, pop, pop.
And what's killing Donald Trump even more is that Obama is viewed more favorably by the American people than Trump is. And a new poll from Marquette University Law School has found that 57% of Americans view Barack Obama favorably, while 40% view him unfavorably, which is a plus 17 net favorability rating, while Trump, on the other hand, is viewed favorably by just 42%, I should say, of people, with 57% viewing him unfavorably, which is a minus 15 net favorability.
That's a lot.
So
it's
a whole lot.
What's the two? What's the favorable? What's the
So I look at more of the unfavorable part, and the unfavorable has Trump at 57% view him as unfavorable.
There we go.
So 40% view Obama as unfavorable. So there's a huge gap in the popularity. Obama's favorability. Let me not say popularity, because this is a favorability poll. Obama's favorability is through the roof when it compares to Donald Trump, and I want to. The reason I say let's not say favorability, because there's a different poll that talks about favorability, and it lists Barack Obama, whether you like it or not, as the most popular president in U.S. history.
I mean, I definitely can see that. And I just think it goes back to when he was president, we could sleep at night.
Cut the nonsense. Let's give me the facts.
That's what the people want. But yeah, I think it just goes back down to the basics. We could sleep at night when Barack was president. Donald Trump is president. You wake up sometimes like, am I going to be able to pay my rent? Are they going to hit me with student loans and take my taxes, my tax refunds? You know what I'm saying? Are we going to go to war? You know, is ICE now coming for me and not just, you know, ICE was supposed to be going after criminals, illegal criminals, and now they're coming after basic working people, undocumented. You know, I've gone from an undocumented person to an illegal alien. And so, yeah, we could sleep better at night. Even if you didn't like Donald Trump, you could sleep at night. You can't sleep at night with the Klan.
There are a lot of comments. And I want us to highlight some of them. I'm going to start with Expat, who says Niele, the water is not just uncharted, but full of sharks. Nancy Wall says she would vote for Obama too. Patricia Jackson says, when I heard Gretchen Whitmore, it's not Whitmore, it's what's Gretchen's last name, but didn't endorse her lieutenant governor. She that said it all about Democrats. Shonda H says Obama is a constitutional lawyer. He understands rule of law and the importance of the Constitution when it comes to governance. RNG says, I focus on the candidates, not a party. There's a white Mexican lady in New Orleans running for mayor, and she is the worst type of Democrat. She panders to Black people, and the GOP supports her. And Just Kendra says, we have very backward logic about politics, and many are very, very sexist toward women leading. Expat said he would have voted for Condoleezza Rice. And so there you have it. And welcome back, David Youngblood. I haven't seen David Youngblood in a minute. Greer says, no shade, but what doesn't make sense to me is when someone say they vote for Trump because they were disappointed with Obama. They never ran against each other. She said, sorry, I need my nails cut. But listen, Trump and Obama, it's night and day. Black and white. It's night and day.
And think about this. Even still, Kamala Harris is not in this conversation. And you would think it would be her, right? It should be her.
You said it best, though.
Comparing Trump to, but we're still going back to Obama because he was even though I criticize him, he was a great president because of the audacity of hope, the hope that he gave this nation, and even how, just the First Lady Michelle Obama with the garden, what she did for public schools, just the presence of a White House that welcomed America. We had never really seen anything like that. When nobody wanted to go to the White House, really. It was like, okay, you could go to the White House, but when the Obamas was in the White House, you wanted to go to the White House. You wanted to see them collard greens.
It was Def Jam in the White House.
You know what I'm saying? And so I just, I'm very critical of some of the things. I wish he would have painted one of the rooms. He could have painted the green room black. I would have really appreciated that. But at the end of the day, when we look at these two that are on the screen, I mean, there is no comparison as to what is best for this country, especially at this time.
Yeah, here's the thing again, they can have all their presidents, but what and that includes Obama. What I did like about Obama was that he was very presidential. I always use that term. He was a very he was somebody you would say, okay, you could tell this is a leader of a nation. We have not had that recently. Somebody you look at, right?
Yeah, the Stephanie Humphrey channel. I love it. Black, red, and green. Yes, that's what we need in the White House.
Black, red, and green.
A black, red, and green.
Brothers are being redeemed.
Some of y'all to catch that later.
All right, so catch this. Speaking of, now this, you talk about going on a trip. Todd Bridges. Now we missed this, but this I found was extremely interesting. He said he had different people trying to set him straight during his struggles with drug addiction. And he had talked about his relationship with Eddie Murphy. He says, I knew Eddie for a while. And Eddie was like, man, we got to get Todd some help. He is tripping. We got to find somebody who knows about drugs. So Murphy, Eddie, and his friends said, let's get Rick James to help him, of all people. So Todd tells the story about Rick James coming over to his house to talk to him in a way that only Rick James could. So Todd Bridges says Rick James asked him to show him his drug stash. And Todd was like, what? He says, show me your stash. We know you getting messed up in here. And he says, so I showed him. And Rick James, of course, says, man, that's just too much. I don't want you killing yourself. That's too much. Let me take half of that off your hands so you don't kill yourself. That's a classic story, folks. So could you imagine Rick James was chosen to be the guy who does the drug intervention?
Well, I mean, in AA, you have a sponsor that, I mean, nobody can talk to somebody better than someone who's either going through it or been through it.
This is a classic. What you talking about, Willis?
He probably said, bitch, where's your stash? What's my name?
But just think about that. And Eddie Murphy, of course, one of the all-time great comedians, apparently, I mean, that's funny that he would pick Rick James, but apparently it was no joke. He said Rick would be the guy. And Rick goes over there, according to Todd Bridges.
In an odd way, I could see that, because Rick James was like one of the biggest, druggies in the game. I mean,
and he took half the stash.
And he took half the stash. He probably needed to take half the stash. I'm not saying that Rick James should have smoked the half the stash, but
just Kendra.
Well,
Kendra
did he give it to him?
He said he took half the stash. Yes. Wait, just Kendra
Nicole said, "Oh, go ahead."
She said, "Crackhead on crackhead violence." And Dr. Nicole says, "Usually the sponsor is clean, though."
That is true. That is true. And Stephanie Humphrey says some things you should just go to the grave with, take to the grave with you.
I don't think you should take that to the grave with him, Stephanie. That's a great story. I love that story. Rick, could you imagine? I got a chance to meet Rick and his child when the child was probably about 4 years old, but I just couldn't imagine Rick James going to somebody and saying, I'm going to help you get off drugs. Well, I guess the way Todd put it, I guess I can't imagine that. Todd said he took half the stash and said, let me help you with that. So, oh, God, you can't make this stuff up.
You can't make it up. You cannot make it up. But we have a few more headlines to get through today. Apple confirms that they have removed an app that tracks and reports ICE agents in local areas at the Trump plan's request. Now, Google also removed similar apps, and Attorney General Pam Bondi says the apps put ICE agents at risk. And so with that, CNN is reporting that people are impersonating ICE agents, and it's on the rise. And so you take the apps off, right? And then you have these ICE agents that are not real ICE agents, and the Attorney General doesn't have a problem with it.
Well, because you don't know, right? And that's a shame, because you already don't know, are they real officers or not? In a lot of cases, right? They're going into places. People. You can go to Walmart and buy a thing that says sheriff or ICE
Right.
across your chest, and now that they've armed everybody,
Right.
you can get handcuffs anywhere.
And they're deputizing these individuals, and a lot of people are believing that these members are like alt-right members of the Klan, members
January
of the Proud
Sixers.
Boys, January Sixers, and that's what Stephen Miller wants. Those are the people that's why they let them all out. They let them all out. They have all their information, and now they're turning them into terrorists to attack people of color. And, I feel like as a nation, we should be very disturbed by this. And we should be more involved in what is happening to our nation as it relates to this, because we just talked about it last week about what's happening in Chicago. What is happening in Chicago right now is worse than what happened here in LA the first time around.
Mhm.
And Donald Trump is ramping up this week alone to go into more cities that are predominantly run by Black people and terrorizing people of color. It's not just the undocumented immigrants now. They're going after Black people. And what they told those Black people in Chicago, if you didn't know, they told them, they were like, if you don't have any warrants, you don't have anything to worry about. But if you have a warrant, we're taking you into custody. Now, how did it go from the ICE agents tracking dangerous, illegal, and undocumented immigrants to now you coming after Black people, detaining them, and then saying, oh, you have a warrant for parking tickets, so we're going to detain you too? That's what's happening across the country, and I don't think that enough people understand. Now ICE is detaining Black folks, and if you have a warrant, they're going to put you in custody.
Yeah, and you don't know where they're gonna put you either, and that's the thing. They've been saying they are disappearing people, and this is this is now the way it is in America. They're putting zip ties on people. Shonda H. right in Memphis and in Chicago. There was video of one particular carload of ICE folks mad. The only thing they're riding around. And it was no emergency. Even if it was an emergency, what they did was horrendous. They threw a smoke bomb because they didn't want to be in traffic. They threw a smoke bomb to clear traffic so they can pass by. They also threw tear gas into a crowd that included Chicago police officers who were injured by the tear gas. They didn't warn the police officers either. It is out of control, to say the least.
And it's because they don't have training, because because Homeland Security is not training these people that they are deputizing, and they're not deputizing most of them. All they have to do is have a Klan card or a Proud Boys card, and they're like, come on in. And I think that it's also important to know about the South Carolina judge, Diana Goodstein, whose house was set on fire after she ruled against the Trump administration. And so now judges are allegedly being attacked because they're not conforming and ruling in Trump's favor. I mean, this is really crazy what's happening in our country. And I think once they start locking more of us up, then maybe we will react. But Donald Trump is moving in a phase right now, folks, to where he is doing this so that there's no election. See, number one, he's doing this so we don't look at the Epstein files. We're not talking about the Epstein files no more because he's throwing so much shit at us. Okay. And then he's doing it also to where we'll have martial law. He's moving towards martial law so that we don't have elections next year, midterms, which is the setup so he can stay in office forever. And if folks don't believe that, then we're going to be in for a rude awakening as we continue to scroll.
Well, I will say this: Vice President Kamala Harris warned before the election. She spelled out all of this. You got to give her the credit. She spelled it all out. She said this was going to happen, that was going to happen, and it all has happened the way that she said it was going to happen.
Yeah, but the most important thing that she could have did was go against the Palestine, the war, the Gaza war, but she, in your terms, capitulated to the Democratic Party because she wanted to be the darling. And so she probably could have won the election if she just would have said what Israel is doing is wrong. And see, that's where the divide has to come in this Democratic Party. They still pussyfooting around with Israel. When an entire war, listen, in Italy last week, Italy shut down their country. See, that's not being talked about in mainstream. In Italy, the workers, they stopped working. The unions, they stopped working. They shut down Italy in response to what is happening to the Palestinian people. They shut it down. There have been national protests around the world. And here in America, you still have the Democratic Party still not really speaking up for what's happening over there. And those are the things that are pissing off the regular American people.
And Greer mentions that no top level American politician will do that. That will never happen. That needs to be studied. What is the real deal between the U.S. and Israel, and it doesn't. It's not. It didn't begin with Trump or Biden or Kamala Harris. It's been a long-standing thing.
Right.
What's the deal there?
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah,
look, I'm not expecting you to answer that right
yeah,
now.
I
I
don't
mean, I'm
know.
saying it's something that needs to be really studied to understand. And this is certainly not any shade against Israel or anybody. It's just I just really I remember going back as far as one of the. It's so funny because one of my greatest history lessons came in sixth grade of all grades, and we talked a lot about history, American history. And I just remember even my sixth grade teacher having that question. And he was one of the smartest people I've ever known, my sixth grade teacher. And I remember him asking that question. And I still have that question. I just, going through life, I still don't understand the relationship.
Well, put it this way: the people, the American people, are sick of it, but there's not enough people in government to turn it. But the people can. Like I said, Italy, the people of Italy shut their damn country down. They shut it down. Okay, and so regardless to whether the politicians don't know, the people have a lot of power, and that those are the type of things that we're not seeing in mainstream media, like the flotilla. Over 300 activists were headed towards Palestine, and they were taken over by the Israeli army. One of the people in the activists was Nelson Mandela's grandson. These are the type of stories that our media is trying to keep from us, because they know that once we start seeing this, guess what? It's going to make the people respond. That's why we're not seeing the massive protests there are protests that are happening here in the United States, but the mainstream media is not showing us. Mm-hmm. That's why we have to be very careful as to the Larry Ellisons and the Rupert Murdochs and Donald Trump and them taking over TikTok, because Netanyahu just said the best thing that can happen is for them to take over TikTok, because guess what? They're going to suppress those videos and that information even more, because they do not want us to rise up like the rest of the world is, because they are doing it. We're just not seeing it on mainstream media.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, a new report in the Pew Center has found 1 in 5 Americans now regularly get their news on TikTok. Now that's up sharply from 2020, and adults ages 30 to 49 have also increasingly been getting their news from TikTok. And I'm just talking about, that's why they want to take over TikTok. And I believe to this day that China told the United States to kick rocks. We're not giving you TikTok. Kick rocks, kiss my ass, do what you want. You can start your own TikTok app, but what we're not doing is giving you what we have. Because if you notice, they totally just like, China's not even in the conversation anymore. They're just telling you that app is not going to be active. You have to download this new app that was created by Larry Ellison. Okay. And so that's what you get. But I believe to this day, China told them to kick rocks.
Kick rocks. Okay. What else you got?
So all of these things. So yeah. So and when we talk about, TikTok, being a number one news source, it's like, as Black media, how are we going to get into that algorithm? Like, what are we doing? Like, we can say support, but we're getting data to show us where the people are. So how are we going to get involved in that algorithm? How are we going to start putting out news so that people understand what's really going on? Because at this point right now, if TikTok is going to Rupert Murdoch, guess what you're going to see in your timeline? Fox News.
Without question.
So, I think all of us as news agencies need to take data like this and figure out how to be a part of this new trend where the younger generations are at, and how do we, get into that algorithm, and how do we get our stories out and go to where they are instead of asking them to come to us. And then in more news, because the CDC The CDC might not tell us, but this is getting out because people are dying. The USDA and FDA are warning consumers to throw away prepared pasta meals available at several national retailers due to potential Listeria contamination. Now, the pasta meals are sold at retailers including Albertsons, Walmart, Trader Joe's, and Kroger's. And so the supplier is Nate's Fine Food. And I'm talking about the Trader Joe's Cajun style black and chicken fettuccine. If you have that, definitely want to throw it away. Market side linguine, beef meatballs. You have that, you want to throw it away. And it's a list, and I think Greer is showing us right now. So if you have bought any type of prepackaged pastas from these grocery stores, Albertsons, Walmart, Trader Joe's, or Kroger's, you definitely want to throw them away because 4 people have already died. And this is a growing situation.
So don't buy any prepackaged meat products from Trader Joe's or anywhere else, really. It seems.
Just make your pasta homemade. Just go buy some pasta, boil it.
Had some last night.
Yeah.
Had some last night. It was so good.
And speaking of meals, Hamburger Helper.
Oh gosh.
Sales have jumped up. No, this is serious. Hamburger Helper sales have jumped up to 14.5%. And it's not alone. Rice is up, canned tuna, sardines. And this is as the economy is shaky and tariffs are on the rise. So, people are getting back to the basics, the good old hamburger
helper. Wow. TV dinners and stuff like that.
TV dinners, tuna, sardines.
Sardines.
I just ran across this this new canned fish called Fish Wife. Baby, when I tell you the sardines, they come in like chili sauce or like olive oil. They have abacore tuna, mackerel. It's called fish fly. It's a little expensive, but baby, when I tell you, I've never had it before, and I had it on Friday. I went and hunted this fish fly, Fish Wife down. They sell it at Whole Foods. Delicious. And I didn't even know that it was part of the recession package, but I guess I'm all. I was
going to say she's already ready for the bunker.
Stephanie Humphrey says, I know that's right. Ramen noodles about to make a comeback.
Ramen noodles. My kids love ramen noodles.
I used to love them in college.
Yeah.
I did. Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. Well.
Oh, wait. Just Kendra says Trump is bringing back tuna casserole. Okay. Tuna casserole. Remember tuna casserole?
Oh boy.
Shonda H says it's full of salt and preservatives. And PH Expat says my mom was poor. Hamburger Helper was a thing. Well, it's coming back, Expat.
You remember Sloppy Joe's? Sloppy Joe's was good.
Yeah, I love Sloppy Joe's.
Yeah, Sloppy Joe's were good.
Hey, put them in the chat. What's some economy friendly meals?
I'm serious.
Right. And last but not least, a MoveOn.org petition is making waves. Check this out, y'all. The petition is calling for Melania Trump to be deported.
Oh gosh.
And so far, the petition has already surpassed 10,000 signatures and count. This was on Friday. Okay, so I'm pretty sure it's much higher. But if you want to make a statement, go on over to MoveOn.org and sign the petition, okay? Because they want to deport Melania Trump, her parents, and her son Barron.
Well, I tell you what, I'll be willing to make a deal with the Trump family. Melania and the clan can stay. Just let Trump go in her place.
It's hilarious.
Red beans and rice and spaghetti, says Shonda H. There you go.
And Nancy Wall says, I made Sloppy Joe's last night.
Oh, you should have called the brother, Nancy.
But let me tell you, it's so funny that I saw Wagyu. Wagyu Sloppy Joe's. Now I'm like, that's too fancy.
Now that's fancy, right?
That's fancy.
We talk about old school, get your ground beef and just go for it. Dr. Nicole says she was disappointed to find that Sloppy Joe did not taste the same as I remember. Was not good at all.
Oh, well, maybe how can a Sloppy Joe taste different though?
No, because everything does taste different today than it did. When you talk about the staples from like the 70s, yeah, it's gonna taste different.
Yeah, but I thought it was just ground beef in a packet mix.
Oh.
Or a can of tomato sauce.
But
I believe you, sis. I believe you.
You know what? Go overseas somewhere. You'll find it tastes much better.
Somebody said Bad Bunny says that depressing oodles and noodles.
Bad Bunny's watching y'all. What's for the Super Bowl?
Not that Bad Bunny.
Okay.
Not that Bad Bunny.
Oh, okay.
Who was
because Bad Bunny's been stirring a lot of controversy lately.
Yeah, he was on Saturday Night Live this past weekend.
Okay. Nancy says she makes her own mix. So let's
give Michelle Madison sloppy joes and salmon croquettes.
Oh, okay. Salmon croquettes, huh? Rice and beans. We got somebody else with rice and beans. Oh, okay. Well, see, you done open up a Pandora's box here.
Everybody ready for the recession meals.
Look, somebody else fixed sloppy joes last week.
Oh.
Wow, Paula Moore says she fixed sloppy joes last week. I want some sloppy joe now.
Now, Paula, did it taste the same? Because we're getting some mixed reviews about the sloppy joes of today aren't the same as the ones of yesterday. Let us know. Does it taste the same?
We're gonna have to call up Aunt Pam. Let Aunt Pam make some sloppy joes. She might be able to recreate the old taste. All right. So some Black history, folks, on this date back in 1971. Hey, Clarence Thomas is gonna love this one. This Black history fact. The first legal interracial marriage in North Carolina occurred between John Wilkinson and Mary Turner, Lorraine Mary Turner. It was the first interracial marriage in North Carolina on this date, 1971.
Thank God for them. You know what I'm saying? Clarence Thomas should be thanking them.
Well, Clarence Thomas is a vote against interracial marriage now.
Is he married to a white woman?
And he's married to a white woman. They're taking that up this session in the Supreme Court, which starts today. The new Supreme Court. Well, he's got, you heard Ben Crump and Jasmine Crockett say they climb that ladder. They don't lift as they climb,
But I don't understand.
They take that ladder and get rid of it.
But if they get rid of it, that impacts him, right?
Well, I would imagine that they're talking about going forward. It would, if you've done it, your grandfather in other words. I'm pretty sure Clarence Thomas will have in his vote that, he's good because he's grandfathered in. So.
PH Expat says he's been married 20 years to an Asian. I mean, love who you love.
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy.
We have one more on this date in 1871. I'm taking y'all back. The Fisk Jubilee Choir from Fisk University began their first national tour, raising money for the school and bringing spirituals to a wide audience. And so I think it's also important to note that the Fisk Jubilee Singers are also Grammy winners. They won a Grammy not too long ago, a few years back. And so that legacy of rich tradition of gospel music continues to this day. So we remember the Fisk Jubilee Singers and Choir.
That was 1871, you said?
1871.
Wow, so we were 100 years apart there. Mine was from 1971.
Yeah, and look, and they still thriving. Like I said, they just won a Grammy maybe 2-3 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay, folks, all that talk of food, we're out of time. I will give you our Black-owned paper of the day tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Let it be known.